Welcome to Python Lesson 17. In this lesson, we're going to continue our exploration of lists, but then see how we can aggregate the information inside of lists. So let's get to it. So one of the beauties of lists is that they're able to store a lot of information. And you learned from the last video that you can use a for loop to kind of iterate through each of the elements in the array. So let's just kind of review that. We got 5 elements here, where the first position of the element is 0. And let's just simply do a print of numbers bracket I. And let's do this. Let's just kind of reinforce the idea of position with the array. So there you go. So the I is the value of I from the for loop. But for us, when it comes to a list, it's also the position, because notice how we're doing numbers bracket I, which will then give us number 0, number 1, number 2, and give us the values at that position. So this was great, store a lot of information, display it, but maybe we could do something more with the information. For instance, we could do, let's say s equals 0. Why don't we add them up? So we recall from previous lessons that we can use the plus equals operator to add up something to s. And what we want to add up to s is the actual values. So this is going to result in us adding up 9, 5, 6, 3, 2, 1. And you know what? Why don't we do this? Why don't we display everything now as we're kind of going along? Okay, so when 0, we get the value of 9, and since 0 was at 9, s was at 0, we now have a sum of 9. Now, the next iteration, when I is 1, we get the next value, and then we add this value to the 9, giving us a 14. So you can see here that the s is increasing by each grade, with the last one being 2. 2 plus the value of s is 25. So this is a simple way to aggregate, and trust me, this is a small set, but imagine if you had thousands upon thousands of numbers that you have to add up. Well, there you go, a simple for loop. What else could we do in addition to aggregating the information? So what if we wanted to count simply how many numbers were bigger or equal to 5? Well, now we can include an if statement. So essentially all the same things you've learned so far, loops, decision making, mathematical operations. The only difference now is that you're doing it with a list, which means you're interacting with the list and an element in it instead of individual variables. So let's add that if statement. So if numbers bracket I, the number in the list is greater than or equal to 5, let's count it up. So at this point, we're not adding up the grades. We just want to see how many grades were above that. So that means we're simply doing a plus equals 1. And at this point, we don't need to print that part out. We can just simply print s out on the end. And let's see what we got. Okay, so it comes back as 3. Do we have 3 grades that are greater than or equal to 5? Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Absolutely correct. So if you think a bigger picture, maybe you want to go through a list of 3,000 students and find out which students are passing, or maybe which students are failing, which students are in a math class. So this idea of going through a large set of data to find something about it is extremely important. And you're going to see that in your activity. So let's go back to our presentation. And in this lesson, we saw how we could bring in some prior knowledge, such as loops, decision making, aggregation, the plus equal sign operator, to do something with the information inside of a list. Good luck. Enjoy.